Hi, Dr. White.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sure.
Good afternoon.
We'll just wait another minute here and make sure we got all the people we need to get started. All right, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 4:35, so we'll go ahead and get started. First, just as a bit of an announcement, I'm going to have a hard stop this evening about 6:25. I'm actually out of town visiting my mother, and I need to get over to the nursing home before they lock me out, or I don't get to see her today, and that would make my mother sad. So she wins. Um, anyways, so if we're not done by that point, I'm going to have to hand it on to you, Dr. Yarborough, but we'll see where we are at that time. So as we get started, the first items on the agenda are the information only items. Were there any comments or questions related to any of the information only items? President Yarborough.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. I just had two questions. One of them may be procedural technical. Um, the first is for the first information only item, which is an amendment. The question is this, what makes it an amendment versus a change order?
Ms. DeMayo, do you want to answer that?
Change orders are done on contracts, to my understanding, whereas amendments are for agreements.
Okay, thank you. Um, and the second question, which doesn't have to be answered now, but I'm interested in the district's response at another time, is Agreement 2.4 with Trifecta Ecosystem. So we have um, this opportunity in a number of schools. And I'm just thinking about the ongoing annual cost for this and what is understood to be the annual ongoing costs. And do we see it decreasing because district staff members are able to take on some of the roles, or do we see it kind of increasing, expanding, and perpetually happening? And the purpose is just thinking about just our budget moving forward. But that's all. Thank you.
Along those lines, this is something we could consider adding to the cover memo template where we're asking about price information, just like is this going to require an ongoing commitment, or is this not going to require that? And if so, how much? Maybe something like that. I
Yes.
think we'd have to think about how that's done. You know, some things are, yeah, though it'll cost. So I'm thinking of something else like Microsoft Office licenses. Yeah, if you renew it next year, that's an ongoing cost and it'll cost this plus more. But some of these are kind of built-in ideas that the thing will break or not be useful if it's not, I don't know. So let's if I may I request, Ms. DeMayo, you keep track of that because I know we're due now that the purchasing policy is complete, and we're soon going to have training with the purchasing department. And I know you all are looking at internal procedures. Maybe that's something that we could consider capturing so that it's answered there at that point if people know the answer.
And the district may not know initially, but I know the contractors, they factor in the acquisition costs and then the long-term relationship of a client. And so they have in their mind a projection of what the ongoing costs would be, even if they don't share it with us. But we can probably ask and get the information.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the information only items? No? All right. So we will go ahead and move into abstracts. The first one, 3.1, is promoting access, inclusion, and success of students. Ms. Jackson?
Yep. So this is a contract that we have with UMass. Just note, if you could look at the dates where it says 125, obviously we're not starting until we get the full approval. But what it is that they're giving us money to help us take a look at students that have social, emotional, behavioral challenges and really doing some research on training that we can provide to our teachers enough to be able to make sure that we increase access for CTE programming for students with disabilities that have behavioral challenges. So it's already been approved through the research team some time ago, looking at our own internal research department, and this is just a second piece of it, and it goes through next year. So obviously, starting so late into this year, we will be going into the upcoming school year and essentially paying teachers to do a lot of the administrative overhaul of some of this research.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? All right, I had none either. Oh, I mean, I did have one actually. Let me check my notes here. No, I did not on this one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, looking at the next item, it's a Head Start federal grant abstract, and I have a note here that Ms. Derwin is in the waiting area and is traveling at a conference, but might be, I'm looking there and seeing 2 iPhones listed, maybe.
Yeah, I see two. We'll try the first one. So, Ms. Derwin. Ms. Derwin, I've brought you into the meeting. If you're in the meeting now, you can speak. If not, I'm going to take this person out and try the other one. Going once.
Right.
Okay, Ms. Derwin?
Yes, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm here to represent the Head Start grant, and we're seeking permission to submit the grant for approval. It is the annual grant, so this is called the baseline grant. It is the first full year following the competitive grant. The total is $5,837,376. $5,781,000 approximately is for operations, and $56,225 is for training and technical assistance. The grant will continue with the same 26 classrooms as we had this past year, and the contractors to support the grant. It provides for comprehensive services for children and families for those 26 classrooms, and it supports 69 full-time positions and approximately 35 part-time positions.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions from the committee? All right. And these are for the whole thing. So
The whole
very
thing.
good. All right. Well, thank you. I had no questions either. Let's see.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. We will go ahead and continue on now into the resolution section. The 6 resolutions are related, but also cover different things. And I don't see a name listed as to who's presenting them. So perhaps someone could present an overview, and then we can also see are there individual questions for any of these.
So good afternoon. I am going to start, but I do have Mr. Aline with me as well. And I believe maybe Christine Bourne may be on the call as well if there are more details needed. But eventually we know that there are a lot of renovations and repairs that are desperately needed across our district as it relates to facilities. Those are going to be things that eventually we have to get done. We want to take advantage of the fact that there are school construction program that is available through the state of Connecticut. And what we would like to do is apply for that program to see if we could get a grant. We are applying for a total of 6 different projects, which account for roofs and also for pool repairs, as well as trying to get space at 424 Chapel to eventually be able to have our central offices on the second floor of that particular facilities. But again, in order for us to apply to the state of Connecticut, we do have to have resolutions that are formally documented from the Board of Ed and also from the Board of Alders, because all of that is required as part of the application. So that's what these projects are for.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions from the committee on all of these or any of these? The only question that I had was a brief one, and that is that 4.1 is we've talked for a couple years now since the city did acquire 424 Chapel Street, and this says that there's, I think, 22,000 square feet. I was just trying to remember about how much of a footprint we currently have at 54 Meadow Street, not counting the 8,000 square feet or the couple thousand square feet we rent on the first floor. Does anybody remember that off the top of their head?
I do not, but I will get that.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious as to if this was to go through, and is this all of central offices moving or part of it? So it's just a curious, I was just curious about that. But Ms. Downer?
I think I was going towards that same question, just reducing costs at that 54 Meadow. So would it be everyone, or, when is our lease over there? So I was just leaning that way also.
So we actually only lease the first floor. That is what we currently have, the Office of Choice and Enrollment. The other floors are floors that we own. So the idea here would be is that this is prime real estate. So we could make this decent amount of money from the sale that hopefully then can support renovations to get us into a more modern type of spacing. The last time it was during my first year, former COO Liam and I had worked with Giovanni Zinn from the city to take a look at the space to actually try to see like how many people would actually fit there. During that time that we looked at it, it was the bulk of the people that we have here, even though it still meant that we had to find some additional spaces, particularly as it related to, I think at that point was the Office of Family and Youth and Engagement, and also enrollment. But I'm gonna go back and look at the square footage, look at the last layout that we had as a possibility to be able to give you more concrete numbers.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Downer. We'll move on. Hearing nothing else on this. Certainly all needed work, especially the roofs and the pools. We'll move into the memorandum of understandings. The first one is a data sharing agreement with iReady Math. Mr. Nguyen.
Yeah, so these next three are pretty similar in many regards, but the first one is with iReady, the math program. They're looking at trying to develop a study to see if the program is effective or not, because currently we have our K-8 students taking iReady. So they want to see the effectiveness of the program, and they're asking for the following fields that are listed in there to be shared with them. In addition, the parents would be opting in if they want to participate, as well as the teachers if they want to participate. And they would conduct the information gathered from these surveys to determine the information that they want.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? President Yarborough?
Yes. I guess I have general questions across all of these, and probably my most important question or recommendation is whether or not our legal team has had an opportunity to review the various proposals as it relates to data and our current policy. That would be my recommendation. If it hasn't happened, that the board receive what's passed through legal, if it hasn't already. Do we know whether it has or passed through governance? I don't know who developed the policies.
I can find out for you.
Okay. Um, my other question is, so I really appreciated maybe it was 5.3 McGraw-Hill in terms of the document showed the suggested or intended changes to the policy versus what the district currently has. It looked like it had kind of strike throughs and inserts there, and it was a little easier to read. Um, Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of us sharing our data, especially data that are identifiable. Um, and I'm not certain whether certain demographic information is needed for it. So one of my questions is, can the district say that the data has to be de-identified, or otherwise, yeah, de-identified. I see in one of the agreements it asks for the name. In the first one, it mentions asking for the first name and the last name, and then it says the district, if it wants to, can request the information to be de-identified. My question is, can we do that from the beginning to de-identify the information? Um, and uh, And the second question I have across all of these, is there a way, or can they show us an example of what an end report may look like? Trying to see the value to us as a district. I can understand the value to the company. Um,
Okay, so I can ask what an end report would look like, and I could ask if it could be de-identified first, so therefore there's no sharing of the individual name. Um, yeah, and I'll bring this up to Attorney Alexis, the attorney.
thank you.
Yep.
Dr. Negron?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to address the question around value. Dr. Yarbrough, that's a great question. And please know that one of the things that I'm trying to get at is that as a district, we engage with a lot of uses in terms as it relates to different programs or instructional materials that we utilize. And what I'm trying to get at is to get at return of investment, meaning if we're using these programs for year after year after year, how can we actually measure that to say, is it having an impact when we look at student outcomes? So that is one of the interests that I have. I want to see, hey, this student has been in this platform for X number of years. This is how much time they spend on the platform. What do their outcomes look like, even when we look at things going back to like smarter balance and being able to make those types of correlations. So I, for one, I'm always interested to know, yes, we are using these programs. Yes, these programs come highly recommended. All of these companies have great reports, right? Where they share, hey, we're aligned to common core standards. We do X, we do Y, we do Z. But with all of these programs, at the end of the day, I want to know how are kids performing as it relates to that particular usage. So just some of my own interest behind the data analysis.
Thank you. Uh, I agree. That's very of interest to us as a district, and very interesting to me as a board member. Um, I would assume that these companies that they need to prove that the product that they provide is working for our district, and they should be able to provide this information to us. Um, and yes, so I'm just curious about the extra request in terms of data sharing. I'm curious about what we can do on our end versus what they need to do. And I recognize once we release data, it is out of our control. Even though it may be under an MOU or under a company policy, it is no longer within our control. And I think it's important that we, as we have per our policy, that we continue to protect district data, staff, students, families, which our current policy does. But when companies rewrite our policies to request changes, it just makes me think about it a little bit more. It makes me kind of want to read in depth what they have suggested and what it means. So that's where my questions are coming from, just in terms of these rewrites here. So, but that's all. Thank you for bringing it forward. Uh, and I guess my other question is, is it our request to them around research, or is it them saying we want you to enroll in these extra kind of analyses?
It's their request to us of whether or not their program is effective or not.
Okay. And do they provide a monetary discount when we enroll?
No, they provide for iReady, they provide a little bit of money to the teachers for completing the survey.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Mr. Wilcox,
I'm sorry, I couldn't raise my hand,
thank
and I apologize.
Ms. Red Hannons.
I just have a comment once after Dr. Yarbrough's finished.
No, my comment was just to ask Mr. Wilcox how he thought we should proceed on the topics, but that's all.
I'll weigh in after Ms. Red Hannons.
So I just wanted to share the companies do provide us with an in-depth analysis of our overall student performance by school. We do utilize their research office to help us in identifying where we see strength, where we see gaps in student learning, and it's, for the district and by school. They also meet with us twice a year to review our data as well. So this could also help in deepening the analysis of data to ensure that it's actionable feedback that we can use with our staff and students.
Thank you. So my thought would be, if the district wants to participate, let's be as conservative as we can in terms of what we share with them, as what we share with any of these companies. And I think we should offer pushback in terms of some of the demographic information that's provided. And if we want to de-identify it on our end, then I think we should be able to do that and put in all the information that we want to be able to say, here are how certain students are performing.
So, were you finished, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, there's two ways I see that we could go forward. If there are particular concerns about these particular three items, then we could hold these items and then talk about this next meeting, in which case I would be asking how time sensitive are these, and what would the implications of that be? And my second thought is, if this is just kind of general considerations, because I'll be honest, I've been on the board for 6 years now, part of this committee the entire time, and the data sharing agreement that we have attached to so many things that we require predates me, I think, by a couple years, 2 years at least. So we could have a discussion item that would be, let's talk about data sharing agreements in general, review what the policy is and what the process is when the district gets the ask to make changes to our standard data agreement, which we see attached to so many things. and how they go forward with thinking about that, since so kind of the particular or the general is how I see it. Personally, I think these three particular, I mean, these are companies we've seen before, McGraw, iReady, and I'm not sure about the Scholastic Beta project, if that's part of Scholastic publisher, or I'd have to. But at least two of these three I'm quite familiar with. I'm comfortable with these moving forward, but if those are the ways I see it.
Yes, Scholastic is part of Scholastic.
Okay.
I guess for me, so I agree with those two distinctions. I guess we didn't hear how time sensitive this is. I do think it would be a good idea for the district to review the data sharing agreement, and if it needs to be updated, to update it. I mean, the data that's for the first one, for 5.2, the data that's requested in Exhibit A for the teachers and then for the students um, seems to be more profile data than what is needed to actually do the analysis. If they want to start to draw conclusions as to why certain outcomes are certain outcomes, um, then I can see why they may want the other demographic and education information. Um, yeah, I don't know what more to say, and I mean, well, anyway, I don't know that I want to publicly say more, but I just think it's a lot that they're asking for, and I don't know if it's necessary to actually give us back our results. But I accept the district to kind of review and decide what is actually necessary and what we're comfortable handing over.
Well, my suggestion is, since we were talking about all three right now, let's have Mr. Nguyen provide his brief overview of 5.2 with Scholastic and 5.3 with McGraw. And perhaps as part of that, you, sir, could opine on how time sensitive these items are, and then we'll decide how we're going to move forward after.
Yeah, so the last two are more time sensitive because it's basically the students utilizing the programs, in particular Achieve 3000 and Scholastic. Achieve 3000, I think, is going to be at Hill House, and they wanted to see the effectiveness again of that program. But in order for them to see the program and to utilize the program, this was the first step to do it. So the students actually haven't used Achieve 3000 in that building. So in order for them to do the study, they wanted to know what information to have first before they would actually take it. So I think my understanding from the literacy department is that they wanted both to be implemented as soon as possible, so that way they can determine the effectiveness of each program. So part of it is having them utilizing these programs that they are seeking information for the data that has been requested for students as well as with the staff.
And this is for this month, next month?
This month. Well, I would say probably this month and going into next month, because there's not much time to this month.
So for 5.3 specifically, which is Achieve 3000, so the data they request for in terms of demographics is language, um, uh, but for their schedule, where they have what they ask for in terms of student information. Um, well, let's ask legal to review, because I have to sign these. So let's ask legal to review Exhibit B, where all these changes are, and to see if it's something the district wants to do. Um,
Okay.
and I guess I asked, were you comfortable agreeing to the requests that these companies have made? Um, because we're not making a suggestion for how to comply, but they've taken our documents, they've rewritten them to say, we want you to allow us to do all of this. Um, in one policy where we asked for data to be deleted in 2 days, they changed it to 28 days upon request. I just think it's in favor of them, and I want to make sure that we have our belt tightened for what we need it to be. Um, and I can make the time to try to read through these closely and just make suggestions, and then legal and district staff can decide what they want to do and present it to the board. And Mr. Wilcox, I can try to do that within the next couple of days and share it back if we think that's helpful. Um,
Okay. Then, I mean, in the end, it's going to be is the will of the committee to move these items to the full board. So in this situation, we would move them to the full board. We would move them to the full board with the requirement that people get information back to us before Friday posting, or, we could pull the items from the meeting, or we could say, we're not going to do any more after this until we've had these discussions about how this stuff is used, how the policy is implemented. In which case we would let these go, but let staff know that we need to have this conversation before we make changes like this again. So those are kind of the way that I see it.
I support that.
Support which one?
Let's move it forward, get information back in between now and so I support us moving it forward, getting information back between now and when the full board meeting is. Me also maybe putting more clearly what my concerns might be, and seeing where we stand. It may not be egregious. I may just be on high alert unnecessarily, and I'm happy to be talked down from that. Um, I just as a data person, I recognize how data is utilized and how stories are told, and I'm just particularly aware of what stories are being told by our district, and I just want to protect that.
All right. Any other comments?
Oh, I agree.
All right. Thank you. And then my request is that us as a committee, if we have specific questions that we haven't already talked about in this meeting, that we get those to the superintendent and to Ms. DeMayo as soon as possible. Should probably also include Mr. Nguyen on that, just so that he has the information, and ask that people get back to us this week. If possible, if nothing else, with an update, if it's going to go into Monday. And if we need to, we can stop, we can pull them at that point, or the superintendent can pull them at that point. And then also we're definitely going to need to have Ms. DeMayo, maybe we could add as a discussion item. We'll have to look at the discussion calendar for next meeting, but we should have just like a general discussion around data sharing agreements, so that we can, like I said, this predates me, so it would be good for me as well, just so that we can take a look at this and try to remember my understanding is there was a parent group that was involved, as well as a previous board member who was a physician that also had very strong feelings about what people did with our students' data as well. People should. So we should have that as a discussion item, so that we can inform folks, so that we don't hold things up moving forward, but still get the discussion and the answers that we think are very important. Is that sufficient? Okay. Anything else on these items? So this is the MOUs 5, 1, 2, and 3. Hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and move on into an agreements. The first one is with Southern Connecticut State University for some tuition reimbursement. Ms. Booker.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm asking the committee to approve the tuition reimbursement using the increasing educator diversity funds as part of the Alliance grant to support some of our non-certified and our certified staff members looking to get degrees to become certified teachers or to move forward with their leadership pathway in education. So right now there are currently 12 staff members that are part of this tuition reimbursement program.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? President Yerburn.
Yes, thank you. I support the program, and I was wondering whether, just from reading it, it talks about Southern has a reimbursement model. Um, what the district pays per staff, is this for reimbursement by Southern, or is this money that goes to the staff member for additional support to help them complete the education?
So this is money that we will pay to Southern, and then they will reimburse the student. So whether it's for their next semester or for giving back reimbursement for their current semester that they will complete.
Okay, thank you. So is it our reimbursement program or Southern's reimbursement program?
It's through the Educator Diversity Grant. So it's part of that grant that we are hoping, we're supporting our teachers and our non-certified staff, and they're going to be, committed to staying in New Haven. So it's a program through the HR department through the Increasing Diversity Grant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Jackson, you had something to add?
I was just going to say that it's been something that's been ongoing for some time. So to answer your question, yes, it is a part of our reimbursement and how we're working in partnership with Southern to set that up for our students.
Perfect, thank you.
Question that I had was, so this is ongoing, the 12 students have already been selected. If this program continue, I guess my question is, are these teachers, administrators, paras, a combination thereof?
So so it's a combination of, we have a building level substitute who's on her pathway to becoming a certified teacher. We have dean of students, we have paras, we have certified teachers who are getting their master's or their administrator's degree 092 certification. So it's a mixture.
All right, thank you for that. And then another question is, so it sounds like the student pays their money, takes their class, passes their class, and then gets reimbursed with funds that come from the district. Is that sum it up?
Yes.
Okay, so they have to complete the class, pass the class in order for that bit to happen.
Yeah, so they have to be in good standing with their GPA.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, hi, it's Lisa Flegler, HR Director. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I just want to add to what Ms. Booker and what Tiffany was saying. This is an ongoing partnership that we have with Southern, and we have other partnerships. But more importantly, this is a grow our own effort that we want to tap into our talent within the district in order to give them opportunities to enroll in teacher prep programs. We have a lot of non-certified staff, and I'll specifically call out the paraeducators that we are encouraging. We have been having info sessions in the past over the last year, if not longer, and offering support for them to not only get their undergrad, a graduate degree, as well as for teacher certification. And as Ms. Booker mentioned, in some cases, dual certification for certified staff that we currently have, and some interested in becoming leaderships within the district, so acquiring their 092, which is their administrative certification. So we offer it to anyone, not anyone, but it's part of an Increasing Diversity Grant, but our internal staff to tap into our internal talent within the district. I just wanted to make sure everyone, it's not just for educators, it's for our non-certified staff as well as our certified staff looking to improve with their current situation, and also to acquire teacher certification, and to hope to and retention effort to retain the talent that we have to keep them in district as opposed to leaving the district.
Right.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is that we're so proud that the first group that we had was chock full of paraeducators and one behavior specialist, and they're graduating this year. So that was the first program that we had specifically as it relates to the reimbursement with Southern. So we're very happy to see the number of folks who are actually graduating this upcoming May.
Yes, and right. And then there is going to be, we will keep you posted. There is going to be a celebration that Southern's going to offer. And so if anyone are interested in coming out and seeing our first cohort of graduates that will be graduating on May 22nd, actually. So we're excited about to see that go full circle. And we actually have them in their teacher roles right now. So it's kind of it was a great opportunity for them to work and become certified and acquire a master's degree, which we are very proud of those individuals that will be graduating soon.
And I would just add, there was one young lady, she reached out to me. She's a building level sub, and she really found that being a building level sub, she found her calling to be a teacher. And she was the one that had actually asked about if there was any, tuition support that she could get, because, she was a sub and not making a lot of money, but she really wanted to go back to school and to be a teacher. So she's currently in her second year at Southern. And she said she wants to work in New Haven because this is where she found her love of teaching. So I think it's a really good program that's going to get us a lot of great teachers that are committed to staying in New Haven.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, that's good news, and congratulations to those that are graduating. And that sounds like it'd be worthy of something to include in the superintendent's report when that happens, so the rest of the board will know about that as well. Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes, I as well think this is wonderful. And I would say the staff probably already knows this, but making sure the board and the public know just the role that the district has in providing this opportunity and partnership with our staff and Southern. The brief description says that Southern will offer a tuition reimbursement program specifically designed for our staff, but it sounds like we're much more involved and some of the money comes through us. So I would highlight that in particular, that is not necessarily Southern's teachers program, but is very much in partnership with the districts.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that, because we do provide a lot of support to these students, and not just financial support, just being available as support. And Tiffany's, because we have some SPED candidates in there, and Tiffany and her team, Ms. Jackson and her team, is very supportive for the network. And again, we have thriving individuals that are currently in special education teaching roles right now while they work to complete their master's degree as well. So it is a thriving program. We do provide financial support, even book support, and it is we as a district we do offer a lot. We initially couldn't offer as much, but now we're in a position that we could offer a little bit more and support them throughout their process, even with their testing, taking their practice tests. So we're excited and we're happy to see this first cohort graduate in May. I'll be there.
Excellent.
Right, wonderful. Hearing and seeing nothing else on this one, we'll move ahead to 6.2, which is a multi-year agreement with Apogee. Mr. Harmon.
With your permission, I will yield to Viviana Camacho.
Thank you. This is in response to the presentation that we did in March 10th at the board meeting, where we recommended for our two-way universal platform to be Apogee. We brought it up to the board, the FNO, in the last meeting, and there was a request to go back and renegotiate the terms to explore a multi-year contract. So after doing so, it appears we have some savings for 3 years. We're looking at $123,287 every single year for 3 years. The difference was on a 1-year contract, it would have been $127,100 with a 5% increase every year thereafter. So we stabilized the price, and we're all set to the next steps with some savings.
Comments or questions? President Yarbrough.
Yes, thank you to the staff for very much going back to them to explore this option. I read that their platform or they can offer an all-in-one system. My
Yes,
question, what are the components that the district is thinking to use and migrate over to Aptigee?
all of the systems because it's a one and all. So we are going to be using the two-way communication, just like I showed in the presentation for the board. We want to use the website, the newsletter option, the two-way communication texting, also integrated with links to Power School. Not full integration, but there is a link like we do now where you could access Power School and of course the website and the phone app. So it's pretty much all in one, and we're taking the whole shebang.
Okay.
So we don't foresee extra expenses for add-ons, which was the difference between why what was one of the drivers with Aptigee and not with other companies, because everything was an add-on and it got pretty pricey after we looked at everything we needed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I believe that the Aptigee vendor's on, so if there's any other questions, I know she was gonna be on in case there was any follow-up questions.
I'll just say that, yeah, thank you all for going back and, thanks to my colleagues on the committee for raising the issue and then you all going back. And I do a lot of similar type of agreements for a lot of information products and, to get the flat pricing over the 3 years, I think is especially nice. It's good for us. It's good for the vendor because it's stable pricing and I'm in support of this because this is something that's going to be key for us. The danger of multi-year contracts that I know all too well from my budget is you're trapped often in them, and if your money goes south, you can't make a change in that. But I think our communication platform this communication platform is going to be pretty key. So we'll need to have something in place.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? And I appreciate the vendor being on, but I think we've been well briefed on this through the original presentation to the full board and then in our previous meeting and now today. But that's my opinion. And if you all have questions for the vendor, then the vendor's here. I'm happy to. We don't typically do that, but okay. Then hearing nothing else on this, we'll move on to 6.3, which is an agreement with Artis Energy Intelligence. Ms. Martinelli?
Hi, yes, good evening. So this is in regards to Artis Energy Monitoring System. So we've been using them since the early 2000s. They have sub-meters throughout the district. It is my knowledge that it's a city requirement to have such a program in place. But they provide us with ways in which we can lower our utility costs. They provide a fiscal year end report to us. So last year, New Haven Public Schools saw a 12% reduction in annual costs and consumption, which is equivalent to just shy of $700,000 in energy savings with a 2.9 million kilowatt hour reduction. So they offer services such as identifying energy management opportunities, such as schedule optimization and demand management, start run times on our equipment that can be adjusted and monitored through the BMS system. Equipment failures can be identified. We can stagger our equipment startup times so that they're not putting such a load on at the same time. They ensure accurate billing from UI, optimize delivery utility rates. They're currently working on refreshing our data with UI, trying to find potential ways to consolidate meters and billing, and with the possibility to switch to lower distribution rates. So are there any questions?
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Ms. Downer?
I have a couple questions wrapped around this. Artist Energy, I guess on the RFP, it was saying that they were the sole source. Um, was that given by the city, or I'm not sure where that is, because when I researched in the industry, they're not the sole source. Was
Okay,
that
to the
given by
best
the
of my
city?
knowledge, that they were sole source on
Oh,
the
okay.
paperwork that I've looked through.
Yeah, because Artist Energy is an intelligence company that actually not only is not, to me, is not considered a sole source and to the industry. They do provide energy analytics and solutions, and they offer their real-time platforms and everything else. Um, have they ever like offer even taken a look at anything with solar or anything for the
Yeah,
school?
so speaking with them, so these devices were all installed prior to solar. But something going forward that I want to look into with them, they can add devices to monitor our output of solar. Currently, it's just the main meter load only, which is energy that's flowing in from the grid, not what we are producing with solar, but that is a potential.
Okay. And I was also wondering, for this contract, because it's multi-year, that we are we paying for the last 2 years, or is it per year where we paying the split of the 227,000 and 25?
So 25-26 will be at the cost of $110,572, and 26-27 will be at the cost of $116,653.92 to total the 227.
So right, because I think it should be split here before it
Okay.
goes before the board. I mean, if we're gonna just be paying half of that, we might want to say that as in 6.2, where it was spelled out.
Okay.
Okay, just a little interest on this energy and reducing costs, and I just want to know if they made any suggestions to even offer geothermal, anything that's available currently for alternative energy that we could see a significant savings on, particularly solar, batteries, anything like that.
We have not gotten into discussion on anything geothermal. It's just they're providing us with the monitoring services that they currently have. But again, I do want to increase what they can provide for us.
Right, because what's happening now is the energy providers also have AMI metering, which could actually tell you things like that also. So I wonder if we're paying this company for stuff that is actually provided by the energy provider. So I'm not sure if United Illuminating, Avangrid, I'm pretty sure they have the AMI metering. So that technology versus this one, you might have that service free through that service, through the AMI metering. So that's all I got to say. It's got to be more to follow, definitely on energy.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Attorney Alexiadis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Um, I I would note to the question about the sole source that is as I recall, it's a sole source designation from the city purchasing department, and I believe it relates to the fact that that is their proprietary equipment that's installed in the buildings. Um, Now that doesn't mean that another vendor, I don't suppose, can't come in and install their own equipment. Um, and it's also my understanding is that that's why this is coming out of the capital budget, which, to be honest, didn't make sense to me the first time I saw it. Um, but the proposal sets forth that it's a capital expense. Um, and also, I can tell you that last year, or for the current year, the bill was $100,295 for the current contract. And we basically have a series of one-year contracts with them in the past.
All right,
That's all
thank
I have.
you.
That's just information that I have to offer. That's all. Thank you.
All right, and before I go back to you, Ms. Downer, I'll just say what I'm also getting out of this is two things. One is, Ms. DeMayo, if we could spell out the split per year as we did in the previous item, just in the description, so it's clear how much it is per year. And I see that it's listed as a sole source. There's a sole source number. Typically, we have the sole source letter from the purchasing agent that explains why it is the sole source, and it also has the information about when the sole source designation expires. So if we could get a copy of that letter attached to this information and sent to the committee by Friday, I would appreciate that. Ms. Downer?
I would like to see the letter also because a lot of times when patents are coming through, they do come through for a certain date, and after that, and I do research on a company, and I research that they do work alongside with providers and solutions, other providers, so they're not considered in a sole source. I get it; the city has their list of sole source and everything else, but just because it was a sole source back in since they've been working with the company since 2020 or whenever they was working with the school board, that doesn't mean that they're still a sole source. So I would like to see the dates. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I agree. And with the new city purchasing agent, we did start to see that there's expiration dates on the sole source designation. I think if nothing changes, it's for 3 years. So we just need to see if it's in range. And we can do that best by seeing the letter. Attorney Alexiadis?
I have the letter. I can share the screen, or I can just, or we can just send it by email after the fact. It was attached to the current ERFA. And just for your information, the letter is dated February 2nd, 2018. And the explanation is that the 83 electric meters are proprietary, and this is the only company that can monitor this proprietary equipment with their proprietary software. But again, I don't suppose that prevents another company from installing their own equipment.
So my request still stands. My request changes slightly, which is then can we seek since the purchasing agent is putting 3-year terms now, and this goes back to 2018, and it's concerns of the committee as well that we need a new sole source designation or the determination that this is no longer meets the city's requirements for that, and she'll decline to do that, in which case then we'll have to put this out for bid or through a state contract or some other thing. But I mean, in this case, we need a new letter because their policies seem to have changed. So, Ms. Downer?
So I'm actually reading from Energy Tech Review, which is done by Lily Dillette, which is the CEO and CIO of Artis Energy Intelligence, where she did state that they work with other companies. So maybe I'll forward this letter also. So this is definitely from the Energy Tech Review magazine.
Right,
and that's dated, like I said, from May 7th, 2025.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Aline?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the sole source letter has an X at the end of its number, which means that it does not have a finite number of years. Just so you're aware of how that works. If the sole source letter does not have an X, then it's usually the 3-year term on that sole source letter. If there's an X placed at the end, that means it does not have an expiration date. And that would be in line with what Attorney Alexiadis said, with the fact that it's their equipment, and that's the reason why we consider them a sole source. We would have to probably consider installing new equipment if we wanted to change the company, which may come with an additional cost. But as of right now, that's the reason for the sole source letter.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think that I would still requesting that there's something from the purchasing agent or from Mr. Trinick, who works with purchasing and also works with the district, that just kind of, points to something that says that so that we can have the definitive answer. That makes perfect sense what you're saying, but I think it would just be good just to clarify it, since we do see several things going through here with sole source designations. And so just so that we have that clear and that the public's clear on it too. President Yarborough?
Yes, thank you, and thanks for the conversation. Um, my interest in this topic is how this company can demonstrate for us that they are earning their keep, that they are saving us more than what we are investing. In a different realm, I think there's a company we pay to help with medical reimbursements or something of that, or um, putting in rebates, and they end up getting us more than they cost us. In a similar way, I would want to know the same for this company, whether we're actually getting a return. And I think the return would need to be less of what I'm calling common sense reductions, change light bulbs, but maybe some more less intuitive interventions that we would otherwise miss as a district unless this company was monitoring our energy use and also providing us with insight that we would otherwise not have. Uh, so if there's a report from previous years, if there's some indication of what they suggested to us for energy savings and we took action on that, then I think that would help really justify this ongoing investment in monitoring. Um, and if we do go look for other companies, we should really see like what is their plan in helping us look at alternative sources of energy or other ways that we can run our district, and we actually implement those changes to see the savings.
All right, thank you. My suggestion would be that Ms. Martinelli or somebody updates the memo with the information she verbally presented on that, just that so that we can have that there. I'm sure other board members will have the question as well. So I think it'd be good that it's there. I can't remember if it's there on paper or if it's there in what she said. So if we could just have that added to that and sent to the committee. President Yarbrough?
Yes. And for, I think it was mentioned maybe like $700,000 in savings. Now that's over the past 10 years. That doesn't count, but I mean, it does count, but I think it needs to be recently. Has there been a big savings or projected to be something significant for us as it relates to savings?
Okay, so according to their energy savings study that they provided, it was a 12% reduction in annual costs and consumption, which so that would be a $700,000 energy savings annually.
Okay.
Is the report I have in front of me.
Yes, I mean, and some of those changes are changes in light bulbs, equipment. I think it needs to tie. I think there's some things we do in general um, that we're just making for environment changes that we're making for environmental reasons. I also think as we upgrade equipment, the equipment becomes more efficient, more energy, um, more energy efficient. Uh, and my question is, are there kind of suggestions that they made that we otherwise would not have done that we can actually attribute to their monitoring services? We may have the information, we may not. I would definitely be curious to see it if it's available to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That report could be posted as well and sent to the committee. Anything else on this item? Hearing, seeing nothing. We'll go on to the last of the agreements. Agreement with Total Communications on distribution switches. Mr. Brown?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So amongst all of the locations in the school, in the district, we have main switches or distribution switches that distribute the internet connectivity throughout the schools. Those distribution switches, first of all, are end of life. That means they're no longer receiving security patches or fixes, and as well, we cannot increase the bandwidth of internet through the schools. There have been many schools that I've noticed over the last year that have complained about bandwidth issues. As we refresh these distribution switches, we'll be able to increase the bandwidth up to 10 gig of data throughput from 1 gig. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we'll also give us visibility to the schools. Currently, we don't have a dashboard of any sort to monitor the data traffic that goes through to the schools. So when there is an issue, high output usage, we generally have to wait for a complaint or wait for an issue. It's very difficult to troubleshoot for IT. These switches will give us that type of visibility. So we have the visibility, the enhancement, and the bandwidth potential increase, as well as with the visibility, we'll be able to see when there's security patches or code vulnerabilities. So that'll give us that also. This is to use the E-rate funding source that we have available, and there's a percentage that we will have to pay of that. Along with that, we'll also be adding in adding in APCs just to those closets. In the past, there was an E-rate to add APCs across the whole district, but to do that, they had decided to break them up. The APCs, if you don't know, are for battery protection. So when a school loses power, certain devices will stay on for a little bit of time. They chose to do it just to a few schools where they secured everything, but at that rate, the project would never get complete. So my thought is to change that and use their remaining funds, well, not completely remaining, but more funding to basically the same time when we put the distribution switch in, we put in an APC, which that battery will help keep that switch on and continue to give us an idea of what's going on if power is lost at that school. The way it is right now, we can't cross the whole district, but if we do this, we can.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Ms. Downer.
How long does the backup battery last? How many hours?
Generally, it's not hours, but it really depends on the load that you put on the battery, the amount of devices that have to stay up. The primary focus for this would be to add just the distribution switch and onto it, and maybe maybe phone router or something like that. But I can find out what the load is for those and get back to you with that if you like.
So adding the distribution switch, is it switching to something?
So the internet comes in from CEN. Currently, it goes through the 54 Meadow location as well as the FAME school now. Last year's project was to enhance the district with 2 data centers now. So we have, if you imagine, 2 locations where internet comes in. So from there, from those locations, there's a line that goes out to each of the schools. In the past, before having the second data center, if 54 went down, all the schools would go down. Now that we have the 2 locations, we have a second path. So if something happens to the grid at 54, FAME is far enough away, maybe it's off the grid and it can stay up, then we can continue to supply internet to the other schools. So I'm not sure if that helps you understand what the distribution switch is.
Maybe I'm just thinking of it different because I'm thinking that if you're switching something off, you got a backup somewhere and it stays on for a certain amount of hours.
Okay, so we're talking about 2 different things. Can I make an analogy? Is it okay?
Go ahead.
All right, so your internet comes into your house, say with Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and say that unit that comes in, that's your router or your switch.
Yeah.
It's a network term. And then from there, maybe you have Wi-Fi, or your house is large enough where you'll have access points in different areas in your house. All right, so that main hub or that main router, that is feeding the other locations that you're getting internet from. So we have something similar like that wired in the schools. Every school has a main router or a distribution switch that relays to the other switches through all the other data closets in the school. So if that one switch goes down, then all of the other classrooms lose internet. Essentially, all of the school loses internet. So does that help clear it up?
It does. How many schools on one switch?
One switch per school.
One switch per school, and it goes into a
Yes.
main hub. Okay. All right.
So that main distribution switch is very important, and we need to have insight into it. We need to know the code versions, and we need to know if there are any security patches, vulnerabilities. We need to, that one switch is the one that's providing access to, for the whole school, for the message boards, for the wireless, for the meetings, for everything.
Okay. The other thing I have too, I wanted to ask, is there any type of cellular option, particularly on laptops?
For
So if anything goes down, the school system goes down, then you can get on cellular.
Well, that would be more so per device type solution. Alarm companies, elevator, fire, they generally will offer a cellular option, but we don't have a cellular option to service the entire school.
Okay. It could be pricey too, so,
Yes.
All right, no problem. All right, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, thank you all. And hearing nothing else on that, we'll go on to, we have 3 amendments. All are related. All are no change in funding amount, but change in accounts. Ms. Diaz-Valencia, can you enlighten us?
Yep, sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 are all amendments to the existing contracts or agreements with the CDC child daycare centers at LULAC, Montessori on Edgewood, and Morning Glory. This is just a mere funding account number change. There's no change in the actual funding amount for any of these agreements.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions on these 3 items? Hearing, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much. We'll move on to purchase orders. 8.1 is with Tucker Mechanical for work at co-op. Mr. Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for purchase order with Tucker Mechanical to replace damaged controls at the co-op high school from July 1 to June 30, 2026 for the amount not to exceed $77,263. And the funding source is going to be the START fund, the $5.5 million package that we received. Any of your questions?
Thank you. Comments or questions? All right. Hearing up, Ms. Downer.
So how many damage controls was replaced? I guess, are they replacing damage controls? How many damage controls now?
This is a request to do the replacement, as quoted inside the proposal, which should be with the documents.
Okay, so can you just tell me before I open up this document or hold up this meeting, how many controls is in it?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the document.
Let me open it. So what type of controls are being replaced?
These are HVAC controls.
It's opening.
I think the last page has it.
Yeah, I'm going to it. And this is the funds for the city, the relief funds?
This is the $5.5 million that we received for, I guess you can call it relief funds, yes.
Okay. So I'm particularly, my question is, when they replace the controls, is there some type of warranty after they replace the controls, or we just have, we just buy the controls because the HVAC units are older and they're just replacing the controls, is there a warranty on the work that they're going to be replacing?
Yes, they always provide a warranty on the work that they do. It's going to be at least, as usually a standard, it's going to be 30-day warranty on the work that they do, unless it's going to be something that we find egregious that was wrong, right? Which we'll have corrected if that's the case.
Okay, because both of these units, I take it. What year is these units?
I don't have the information from you, Ms. Downer.
So
I'd have to come back to you, but none of this stuff is new.
So I'm sorry, they're putting new controls on antiquated units. So I need to know what year the unit is, because that could really be other stuff that can malfunction regardless of the controls. Or sometimes the controls that you put on units don't talk to each other.
I can come back to you.
So you have that type of situation going on also. So I need to know the year of the HVAC unit.
Okay. I can come back to you with that.
Because that's another thing, these HVACs, and some of these need to be replaced and some of these are getting Band-Aids. And we need to be able to identify that if this is just a Band-Aid, then we need to be looking at stuff that if this is going to possibly create issues also, because language talks when you have controls. And if it's not talking to the component, or it ain't able to talk because different language, or a sophisticated language, then you may have some issues there too. So I'm just asking. Okay, I just wanted to know the year of the unit. Thank you.
No problem.
Right, thank you very much. I will agree on that a Band-Aid approach is sometimes it's keeps things working, but when things should be replaced, but also just the amount of things that we need to replace that we don't have the funding for, from roofs to HVAC systems to other things. This is where our funding goes sometimes, is in Band-Aids, when the another way of looking at it, I see it as, keeping an old car running when it's past end of life and isn't worth the investment, but you still got to have something running when it's an HVAC or a water system or other things for schools. And so we patch it and hope it goes a little bit longer and go for funding from the state. So it's unfortunate. Thank you. We'll move on to 8.2, which is a purchase renewal with Facilities Management Express. Mr. Aline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for purchase order to renew the Facilities Management Express, or FMX, platform that we use for the facilities department for work order management for an amount not to exceed $52,262.67. And funding source is going to be the operating budget for the facilities department. Any of your questions?
Thank you. Ms. Downer?
So this was one in particular that I really felt that we didn't even have to, as I voted no for it. But I was curious that we don't have, since we're going down to this FMX Express work management system, why don't we have a multi-year here at this for this? So I think, I don't know, was that ever negotiated? Maybe there was a benefit there. Personally, I would have been with Brightly, but we chose this one. So I'm just curious to see that there's no multi-year here.
Usually it's refrained upon to kind of to do multi-year unless it's absolutely necessary. It's been the policy of district, and my understanding as the board, that we want to keep things to a year contracts, that we're not locked into things for too long, with options to renewal at times. But multi-year contracts are usually something that we do not want to do unless it's absolutely necessary, or we can prove 100% it's going to be to a benefit, and that it's not something that we want to get out of in the next year or two. So normally, like for instance, with the Artis Energy, type of thing, where there's proprietary equipment that's involved, and we figure we're not going to replace the equipment next year. It's my understanding, or this is actually the practice of the district, that we don't do multi-year unless we feel like we absolutely have to.
So the other thing that I would disagree on, Mr. Allen, is that when you do a different management system, you have to do a startup cost, and we lose money when we have to switch companies each year. So I would think that since this was actually presented about when I first got on the board, It was the high-tech, sophisticated system that we much needed, and I'll leave it there. But I think that at this point, where we're being more cost effective, that it should be some sort of multi-year here, because I don't think that, well, I don't see anyone making a suggestion that the system is not working. So I think that I was looking to see a multi-year. I mean, everybody was so, we had a unanimous support here on the board, and except me. And I'm just curious to maybe I'll hear from my colleagues and see how they feel about a multi-year here.
If the board wants to support a multi-year, we can bring it back to them and request a multi-year contract if that's what.
Because it won't be cost effective to keep on doing startups for management systems, which, if I recall, they had a large startup. So I don't know. I'll yield.
All right, thank you. Attorney Alexiadis, you had a...
Yes, with regard to member Downer's comments, is this agreement under state contract? I see that on the memo, the box for correct contract is checked off.
It's not a state contract. It's through some other buying cooperative that Tom Lamb was able to procure it through.
Okay, and do you know if they provide an opportunity for multi-year pricing or multi-year discounts?
I don't know. I'd have to bring it back to the procurement, a specialist, our procurement manager, and who was going to be involved from the operations office. I didn't actually acquire this quote myself. That was handled by the operations office, but we can bring it back and ask the question.
And also, I would just note that that sometimes, depending on the procurement process, a multi-year contract would require Board of Alder approval.
That's correct.
So that's another reason why historically the district has entered into one-year agreements.
All right.
At least so I'm told. It's been going on for a long time. Thank you.
In my opinion, I think the district could see if a multi-year is available through CREC or through the vendor, and if that's something that they want to pursue, then there's time. This is for next fiscal year, time to pursue that, and in which case this could always be pulled if that is the way. I think the savings, every penny counts in our budget, but it's also, saving might be, $1,500, or might be, nice increases year to year. So it'd be interesting to see what was available, if there's something available. Personally, I'm comfortable with this moving on as is, but if there's the district, if they want to do that work, I think that sounds like good work to be done if there's any cost savings. It's my opinion. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. Hearing nothing, we'll go on to the next item, which is contract 9.1, which is with Tucker Mechanical for on-call chilled water. Mr. Erling?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking as I turn my page here. All right. Award of contract 21938. So this is going to be exercising a renewal option with Tucker Mechanical for on-call chilled water and air-cooled equipment repairs, specifically just repairs for this one, from July 1 to June 30, 2026, for an amount not to exceed $225,000. And this is through our capital projects funding source. Any of your questions?
Thank you. Comments or questions? Ms. Downer? Yep.
I had to come off mute, sorry. I just wanted to know, was this, I'm just curious that Tucker Mechanical was always our person. Was this out for bid?
Yes, it was. This was put out to bid, and they won that bid, and we're exercising a renewal option in order to save additional or increasing costs.
So they was our winner last year, but they ended up costing us more. Do you foresee that this would be, it says do not exceed, but last year their 360,000 said do not exceed, and they came back for more. So
just to remind you, this is an on-call contract, so it's not
exactly like all the contracts on call.
correct. So it's
So that
not
was last year also 360,000 that we had with Tucker Mechanical, and Tucker Mechanical came back. I
so
could
that's
research it.
That's the piece I want to correct. It's not Tucker Mechanical that comes back. It is the facilities department in the district that comes back and asks for more money for the contract. So as a reminder, this is an on-call contract, which means that we call them when we need them. They are not telling us that something's going to cost more and we're coming back for more money. This is, we need you to fix this. They fix it. And as we run out of money, as we're spending, and we determine that we'll need more money to continue to fix things in the district, we will come back and ask for more money for this particular contract, not the vendor coming back and asking for more money.
Okay, so the other question is the oversight of Tucker Mechanical. Last year we had an oversight of a D2 overseeing, a D2 with an expired license overseeing a Tucker Mechanical that had an S1. Is that something that's going to change this year, so we make sure these air handlers are being serviced properly and someone can oversight that S1?
So that's a question that would be answered probably having to do with the new RFP that's going out. I believe there may be some changes to that stuff as some of the board members have requested. So that our contract ends in the next 45 days. So after July 1st, I can't tell you what is going to be happening going forward until the district has made a decision.
Well, let's talk about now. Isn't the ABM the facility manager?
ABM is the facility manager, yes.
So isn't ABM the person that's responsible to bring qualified people here to oversight an S1 or S2 that has unlimited oversight on an air handler unit? Isn't ABM responsible to get the qualified people per our contract? Let's talk about it now. I don't want to talk about it at the board meeting, but I would like to talk about it now because we're having problems with oversight on the unit. That's the root cause here. We have people working on our units. Maybe Tucker Mechanical does. I've checked them out. Some of them have S1s, S2s, but I've checked out ABM and they don't. So that's what's happening now, Mr. Elliott?
Mr. Wilcox?
President Yarbrough?
Yes, I think for the question is partially linked to kind of agreement or contract language and enforcement between the board and between our contract with ABM. And I think we could, on the district side, investigate that or check out that process to make sure that we have the appropriate reviewers in place for these services.
Thank you.
So I don't know if that would be Attorney Lexiadis or if that would be, we don't have a COO right now to do that, but we can look into that.
So,
and it's free. You don't have to pay anybody. Go on the state licensure. It's very free.
Well,
so,
in terms of the company providing what it needs to provide for our services.
Right, but we should also be checking. You can't, if someone tells you, and I'm gonna leave it there, you should always, Big Brother always gotta watch. Thank you.
Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Aileen is logging back in. His computer had shut down. He'll be back on in a moment.
Okay. So, I mean, technically for this item, it's oversight in the next fiscal year where there could be a different company in place, but I think that this has been instructive for the district because that RFP needs to get out. And if the oversight is required and necessary, then that should be specified in that so that any vendor that's applying is able to talk about that for this type of work and any other work that requires, that we require people with particular designations, degrees, certifications, etc. So,
I rest.
So, okay. But I'm in favor of this going forward simply because this is for the work that needs to be done and it's related, but it's not, you know, how's this work supervised is a question that the district will need to answer in terms of a COO and in terms of the facilities management contract as that goes out and selections are made. So, all right. Hearing nothing else on this, I'm going to go on to 9.2. Mr. Aline's involved in each of the coming up ones here, although this one is also listed as Dr. White or Mr. Aline. But for 9.2. But do we need to? Dr. White, are you able to present on this, or do you need Mr. Aline back in the meeting?
I will begin, and then Ms. Aileen can join. Just need to get back to my spot here.
All right, and then just as a reminder, as long as we're waiting, I do have a hard stop at 6:25, so I can get over to the nursing home and see my mother. I'm out of town now to see her, and I need to get over there before they lock me out. So at that point, I'll ask you, Dr. Yarborough, to take over.
Okay, thank you.
Up to this point, I'm in favor of everything moving forward to the board for their consideration and vote. But I might not be here for the actual movement of that.
So as I'll try and take over. What other questions do we have? Because we're still with, are we all set with the FMX, or we?
Right, so we're actually on 9.2, which is the award of contract with Tucker Mechanical for preventative maintenance on air-cooled equipment and chillers. I imagine some of the questions will be similar that we've discussed with them for the on-call chilled water, but I don't know if there's specific questions. I guess in the interest of time.
Right, I'm bringing Mr. Eileen's back in, but again, this is still, again, working to make sure all of our equipment's ready to go for, particularly as we're going into the season where we will be needing the shelters to make sure that our schools are habitable for this time as we take this part of the school year on.
I apologize. I got the blue screen of death and my computer restarted, so I'm back. So you can tell me where we are at the moment. I can pick up if necessary.
9.2.
9.2, just starting 9.2.
All right. Thank you. So this is also with a renewal for the contract that was awarded through public bid with Tucker Mechanical for the preventive maintenance services of air-cooled equipment and chillers. And this is for FY 25-26 and funded through capital projects.
Thank you. Comments or questions on this item? Ms. Downer?
I have the same questions. I'm just over the Band-Aids, you know, and I think we got to get to a point where we are just not keep placing these Band-Aids, and then eventually the units are just going to collapse, you know, and they're not going to work even if we Band-Aid them. It's just like our car. And we just got to get to that point. I think, and I'll just leave it there. I know we need money. We need money from our constituents and, you know, Hartford, and, you know, we do need that money, but we got to do better with what we have, you know. So if we keep putting Band-Aids on it and then we don't have the proper people working on them, then that's just like, you know, it's just like someone that does brakes and working on my engine. I know what that's going to cost me. So we got to be careful. We got to be real careful right now, being that we're going to be cost effective. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms.
We
Downer.
still need it because we got to bring it forth, because we need the air handlers to handle the heat and the, you know, the air and everything else. So these units do that. They work on heat and cooling. So we need it.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Negron?
I think Ms. Downer stated what I wanted to say, that it was just as a reminder, right, that we're trying to do the best that we can with the capital dollars that we have. And again, for the next 2 years, we have 15 million. So we have to make that due for year 25-26 and 26-27. So that's why we're going to continue to go after any kind of grant that we can, and we're going to continue to advocate for educational funding because we need every dollar.
All right, thank you. And I'll just agree with everyone. Band-Aid approach is nice if you have a little cut, not if you have broken bones, etc. To torture the analogy, but I do think that that yes, and hopefully we're all writing to our legislators to advocate for more funding, like SB 1151, which will bring in additional tens of millions of dollars into the district if it passes as it was written, etc. So, because that's the way to buy the equipment that the student and staff deserve.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
If I could just add on and just remind those of us that are listening today that between last year and this year, we are spending more money on HVAC service than we have probably in the last 5 to 6 years. That includes carving out preventive maintenance, which has not been done before. And so that is a credit to my team. That is a credit to Tucker Mechanical, the vendor who has been servicing us, who does not have repeat calls. When they do the work is done right. We have not any issues where the work has been done wrong. It's just the amount of work that needs to be done because of the neglect over the years. The equipment just hasn't been serviced, right? And that's the animal that we're up against. And so I just want to make sure that it's clear here that we're not doing Band-Aid fixes because someone does not know what they're doing. And we're not really doing Band-Aid fixes. We're fixing what we can today with what we can afford, and then putting together capital planning for the future, if with what we can afford and requesting funding for it. So I believe we're in a place where we're trying to do the right thing, and we have the right approach at the moment. We just need the funding for it. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Aline. And I will note that this item is for preventative maintenance on this type of equipment. So, so thank you for that. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll move into change orders. And the first one is with O'Brien and Sons, changing a location of a playground. Mr. Aline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a award, or should I say a change order, for a no-cost change for the playground installation that originally was scheduled at Wexler Grant that is now going to be installed at Lincoln Bassett School. So again, there is no change in funding on this. Small change in scope in terms of the location and where it sits on the property itself. Any other questions?
All right, thank you. Dr. Negron, and then
I
Ms.
wanted to add that again, as part of the merger that we're doing, that playground was supposed to be for students at Wexler, and that's why we want to make sure that it follows the students from Wexler over to Lincoln Bassett. So that's why we're asking for the change of location for that playground.
All right, thank you. Ms. Downer?
Okay, I just got a quick question. I see the change from the playground going from Wexler School to Lincoln Bassett, but also in 10.2, I see, is this part of the resurfacing? And then maybe, I guess we should have did this together because,
sure. I can clarify.
Because the other one is part of the installation.
I can clarify it. So it's two different funding sources. That's why they're separated as two different POs, but for the same project, yes. So each of them is no increase.
Okay, so one question. The resurfacing, what are they going to do? Just put asphalt down? Remove it and put asphalt down?
No, it's not asphalt. It is the required playground servicing.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused here. $172K to do the design and resurfacing of the playground at Lincoln Bassett School, right? From Wexler to Lincoln Bassett. So if they're dismantling Wexler, then what are they putting in replace when they take it out?
So it hasn't been installed at Wexler yet. So this playground was scheduled to be installed at Wexler. We are changing the location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's no change in scope and no change in price, just location.
So I know there's a playscape at Lincoln Bassett right now, right?
Right. It's going to replace the not the smaller playground for the smaller children. I believe it's going to replace it for the middle school playground.
Okay. So they don't have a playground there for the middle school?
They do. This is going to replace that.
Okay, so is there anything to demolish
Yes.
built in?
Yes, it's built in.
Okay, that's all. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing nothing else on this. So 10.2 is related, and that's the installation as opposed to the resurfacing, etc. So, and again, this is part of the same thing of moving, not installing it at Wexler, what was planned, but instead installing everything as designed over at this other location, over at Lincoln Paso. So, is there anything else? Any other comments or questions on 10.2? Okay. Hearing nothing on that, we will move into the change orders 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7 are all related to different zones of the snow removal work. So if we could have Mr. Aline, a discussion of it in general, and then if there's any comments or questions on any particular one or in general from the committee, we can talk about individual ones as well. But
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if you recall, there was change orders that were submitted for 20% each for one of these contracts. Several weeks ago, probably sometime in, I believe it was either February or March, just to do a standard change order request, which was completed by Mike Carter at that time. It gave us some time to go through all of the invoicing and complete the invoicing so that we can make sure that the invoicing was correct and that extra services were not attempted to be billed. After validating all the invoices and to make sure it matches up to the events where the vendor was called in to provide service, we went ahead and processed those invoices. And these change orders are for the total amount for each one. So I'll go through them by the numbers just so we have the numbers individually. So item number 10.3 is change order number 2, because change order number 1 was for the 20%, with Tim's Enterprises LLC for snow removal at Zone 1 to increase funding amount from $108,000, which is what includes the 20% change order, which is change order number 1, by additional $76,175 to a new amount not to exceed $184,175 under the same funding source, which is our operating budget. 10.3 is for zone number 2, which is also with Tim's Enterprises. Also from $108,000, which is the original amount plus the change order number 1, increased by $117,200 to an amount to not to exceed $225,200. 10.5 is change order number 2 to contract with Cheapskates for zone number 3 to increase funding amount from $108,000 by $101,050 to a new amount not to exceed $209,050. 10.6, which is change order number 2 to contract with Concrete Creations for zone 4 to increase funding amount from $108,000 by $100,100 to a new amount not to exceed $208,100. And lastly, 10.7, which is change order number 2 to contract with Cheapskates LLC for zone number 5 to increase funding amount from $108,000 by $107,425,000 in an amount not to exceed $215,425. So this was for a total of actual 12 events with 2 pre-treatments. Just want to remind everyone that the statement of award prices this out by zone, which is how it was awarded to each contractor, which is how the billing is verified. And so the billing is verified against those particular numbers in the statement of award, and then validated and approved based on each event. Any of your questions?
Right, thank you. Comments or questions? President Yarbrough.
Thank you. And just a general question. When a contractor So let's say a contractor did not clean a school well in terms of treatment for snow or ice, and they were notified of that. They came back and then did the work that they needed to do. How did the billing work on that end? Um, yes, I mean, are we paying them for coming back and doing extra work or and not? Yeah, can you just walk through that a little bit, please?
Yes. So if a vendor is called back, it's still the same event. And so the pricing on the statement of award is by event, and it's usually by the inches of the event, right? And so a lot of this had to do with ice. And so it would be like a 0 to, 1 inch, whatever the first category is. And so if they didn't do a good job, they would still call back to clean the school, and it would still that one event, and they can only bill for that one event.
Okay. Thank you. That clears things up. Thank you very much.
No problem. Ms. Downey, you have a question?
Ms. Downer.
Yeah. This has always been this subject, just alone on just this subject of snow removal, has always been very touching to me. That means that we basically are paying for the snow, instead of paying $450,000 as we expected to pay, we paid $1.04 million. $1.04 million for snow removal. When I look at, and maybe this is for the district, I know we talked about mitigating and buying equipment and, buying some snow blowers. I mean, even a commercial snow blower would cost us 15 grand. $1 million is a lot of money at this point to be spending for snow removals for, again, $500,000 just for 12 events. We had a lot of incidences where the snow wasn't removed. We had a whole couple schools showed up. Clinton, there was a couple of schools, Fairhaven Middle, they showed up to the school and there was nothing done. We had wheelchairs that couldn't even get up to the ramps, let alone see them. We had car accidents. Was there any type of claims that was made against these people? Like, did they have to, I just find it very hard that I don't see anything going back on the legal side for what they've caused us. When accidents happen on school property, it is a process. It doesn't just stop at the school. It goes down to the city and everything else. Everybody's involved legally and everything else. But was there any type of claims against any of that? Are we just talking? Because I got to reclaim my time some way. I'm just wondering if I'm just talking here and no one is just listening. I don't know what this is. We all know what happened. It was a whole news article. And these people are still getting their money. This is unbelievable. And I know for sure the citizens, the property owners of New Haven is just looking at us like, what are we doing here?
So I can answer the first part of that, Ms. Downer, if only if you finished, of course.
No, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet, Mr.
No problem.
I know for sure we were going to look at bringing some of this stuff back in-house. I grew up in the New Haven school system. I had to come to work not come to work. I had to go to school. Matter of fact, we walked it. We wore snow suits coming in. But now those are old times. We can't do that no more. Because the stakes are higher now. We have a lot to lose. And I just wonder, did we ever take a look? And if we didn't, I'm not going to call it out here, but if we didn't, we might want to take a look at that. Getting our in-house crews, mitigating this back. We have people that do it well here in the city of New Haven. We have people that cut grass well. We have people that do snow removal very well. That can do these large parts, as one of our contractors that's getting paid a lot of money said, cheapskates in the New Haven Independent. So maybe if you don't want to hear it from me, which is the elected official, that maybe we'll take it from the contractor. He even suggested that we get people to help from Local 271. We need to do something better. $1 million to cut just for snow. That is ridiculous. And it wasn't superb service. It was in our face. They played in our face. And it was not superb. They showed up with one-man bands and everything else. One truck, one shovel, probably two. You hear the stories. The teachers are not making this up. So that's my plea today, to do better. You know better, do better. And that's not a question for you, Mr. Allion. I'm done here.
All right, thank you very much. So to separate out this current year for what the plans are for next fiscal year, I do greatly also want to hear about what the plans are for how we're going to do better next year. I know Mr. Carter and Superintendent have presented at other meetings talking about that, but we need to know what the actual plans are going to be, because also some of it involved spending $500,000 on 5 trucks to be able to do that, to have staff do it as well, and just to see what the plan is. And so I'm hoping that we'll hear about that sometime in the month of May, since that's about the time we typically are doing snow removal contracts for the next fiscal year. For this current one, my one suggestion is, and I'm anticipating there might be other questions from other board members as well, and I would appreciate it, is in the last year's final snow memo, it did list it out by event, and then what the event was, what the totals were, and what the vendors charge for each of those. And I'm hoping that we could have added to this memo a recreation of that table, because I found it very helpful to kind of see, you know, what the different events were and what was being charged for each of that. And so I'm hoping that can be done. I appreciated the information that was included, the 5 different pages that had all the different information on there. It just was trying to match up what was the date of the event versus the invoice date. And so I know that was helpful last time for me and others. And so if that could be done, I would appreciate that happening this week before it's posted for the full board. And Dr. Yarbrough asked the other question that I was thinking about also, in terms of the what happens if something wasn't done well. And and that was answered in terms that's still part of the same event and have to come back. And I also know the superintendent has also talked about having a meeting with all these vendors to say they must do better, et cetera. So yeah, that's my one final thing on this, is just if we could have that one table. I sent it by email, but it was in the final snow removal that listed it out by event and vendor. Anything else on this item? That's the last of these action items. So I'm going to make the motion and we can vote, and then I'm going to have to go and turn the meeting over to Dr. Yarbrough. I move that we send to the full board these 2 abstracts, these 6 resolutions, the 3 memorandum of understanding, the 4 agreements, the 3 amendments, the 2 purchase orders, the 2 contracts, and the 7 change orders.
Second.
Been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. President Yarbrough?
Yes.
Ms. Downer?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so the motion carries, and I apologize for needing to leave, but Dr. Yarbrough, the meeting's yours.
Yes, thank you. May your visit go well. Thanks for serving. Okay, next on the agenda is the reports and discussion section. Is there an update on operations related climate resolution progress?
We do not have an update for today. I thought this one wasn't going to be on the agenda for today.
Okay.
I can speak to it for a few minutes if you're interested.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate it. Or Dr. Grohl, do you want it to move forward, or do you want to have a
If
different?
Michelle thinks she has enough to provide that, then I'm open to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I can just speak two of the areas that we've been working on. We did send out a sustainability newsletter back in March, but I can just quickly kind of go through where we're at with a few of these resolutions. Two that I've been focusing on the most have been resolution number 4, which is developing a plan for recycling glass, paper, and plastics. And resolution number 6, which is food waste reduction and composting. So we have launched a district-wide recycling program for glass, paper, and plastic. So while all the schools have at least one cardboard dumpster and one trash dumpster, in order to recycle, we need to get the blue outside totes from DPW brought to the school. So we are doing that in collaboration with the Refuse and Recycling Working Group that I'm part of, which is members of the city, Department of Public Works, as well as the new recycling educator that they've hired, Rose Ritchie. So her and I have been going out to schools and providing recycling education classes, as well as getting green teams on board to actually get the recycling work done within each school. Some schools don't have the classroom bins, so we did partner with IKEA, and they donated about 175 bins and created a really nice graphic on it. Small changes make a big impact. Thank you for recycling. So we just distributed those to Cross, Clemente, King Robinson, Fame, and Martinez. So we are currently at about 17 schools who are actively recycling, and we will continue until we have everyone participating, but it's mostly a successful endeavor. As to speak to resolution number 6, just an update. Back in September 2023, due to a refed grant, I was able to partner with Blue Earth Compost and Farm2X Ecosystems to begin composting at 4 schools, with Martinez, Barnard, HSC, and New Haven Academy. So the food scraps from lunch are collected into bins, and then Blue Earth weighs the food scraps and picks them up once a week. And fortunately, due to a USDA grant, we've been able to add an additional 4 schools this year. That would be Sound and Metro began in March. Worthington Hooker began in April. And Truman will begin this week. On Wednesday is actually their first day. So collectively with these 7 schools, we have removed over 33,000 pounds of food from the waste stream. So this has been a very successful program. It's kids from all the way down to pre-K, all through the high schools. So we're adding to it, and I think it's been a really successful program. We are one of the few cities that have as many schools participating in Connecticut, which is really good. That's just a brief snippet of some of the resolutions we've been working on. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? So, Ms. Down, do you have something? Or I can begin?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. This week is Earth Week, so we're participating in a lot of events at work, and getting involved with Earth Week. I too am just trying to do things around my neighborhood and just in the community related to
tomorrow on Earth Day we have a cleanup day at Martinez.
Yes.
In the afternoon. So there's a lot going on this week, but it's all exciting stuff. So
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ms. Martinelli, thank you for your work, your team's work. Ms. Downer, thank you for lifting up Earth Day. And I did an email search, and I see the sustainability newsletter now that was sent out in March. So thank you, or February. So thank you very much for providing it. And I was happy and excited to hear in the food service meeting just what sustainability work has been done and what you were able to capture through your office. One recommendation is maybe to work through the superintendent, work through our communications director, and our 2 student board members who have developed this Instagram platform. I think it's Instagram, but for communicating important topics to the students, of the students' interest, to let them know what's happening at the district, but also what's happening between different schools. And I think the information that you provided on the sustainability work and the growth in terms of sustainability topics, as well as the particular schools that are participating, and then the waste that's been rescued and um, whatever measurements that you are taking that have been quantified would be important for us to convey to the students to let them know, as well as parents and others who are interested. So thank you very much for just your team's work, your department's work, and all the students in schools who are participating. We should definitely celebrate them if we can. Dr. Negron, also.
Yes, I just wanted to say kudos to Ms. Martinelli. At first, we didn't think we were going to be ready when I know that Pat and I were going over the agenda, so I'm glad that that was available. And also, I do want to share it in particular with our student climate team. So once I get the written details, I do want to share it with them.
Yes, that would be
Thank you
great.
again.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next on our agenda is the part-time custodial RFP update and SJ services update. Do we have one to share now? Attorney Alexiadis?
Seeing as, thank you, Mr. President, seeing as no one else responded, I can advise that I have been working with the purchasing people on language for the new RFP, and we are still working out some of the bugs in it.
Okay.
So hopefully in the next couple of days, that work will be completed. I had more questions today, so went back
Thank you.
around again today, and so hopefully within the next few days that can be completed and the RFP posted.
Thank you very much.
That's what I know.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Groh, then.
Yes, we're trying to take the lessons learned from this last contract to make sure that the language that goes into this new one is as strong as possible. So I just wanted to reiterate that because we are learning from our pain points.
Thank you. Ms. Downer? You're muted.
Sorry, I was
Thank you.
muted. Sorry. Is this on the agenda because of the lesson learned, or is this on the agenda to put together something for SJ Services? I didn't know.
The contract with SJ Services ends this year. So
Okay.
we had already been going through the process to put it out to RFP, right? So that's what this new one is for.
Okay, I would like to go a step further and see how we can disqualify them from ever bidding in any school contract, especially if just disbar them altogether because of the negative service that they gave us, the negative reviews, and their low customer service. It was extremely low. It put us in a vulnerability state of our schools, our buildings, and everything else. I definitely was not satisfied with them. I don't know who could actually speak to it that they did such a superb service. I don't think so. And I think they need to be disbarred from ever putting in a bid for anything that has to do anything with New Haven Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Downer. Mr. Aline, do you have an update or a note?
Yeah, just a quick correction on information based on a meeting that I attended earlier today. Attorney Lexiadis, I believe the contract that you're speaking of is the RFP for the maintenance portion that you're reviewing language on. The custodial
That's
RFP
correct.
already,
That's correct, Mr. Alien. I misspoke.
Yeah. The custodial RFP already went out and posted, and I believe they're in the process of reviewing, as a review board, reviewing the candidates that bid before they choose an awardee. So I think, unless Christine, you have something different, I believe that's where it sits right now.
You're correct. I was going to raise my hand next.
Thank you, Mr. Lean. Thank you, Ms. Bourne. Ms. Downer?
That brings me back to my question. So if it's part-time custodial, they have about 190 part-time custodians. So is this for a new contract for them?
So Ms. Downer, they put out an RFP for a new contract in general for custodial services for the part-timers, not
For SJ
necessarily
Services?
No.
not for them. It's a new
Okay.
RFP for other bidders to come in and bid against the contract.
Okay, so I still stand. SJ Services need to not do business at all with the New Haven Public School. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, is there an update or a mention of any upcoming financial issues that we already haven't heard about? All right, thank you. Next, we have on our agenda an executive session to hear from Mr. Alexiadis and Dr. Negron. Who else should attend this meeting, and do we have a link?
I'm sending the link right now. I'm
Okay.
sending to Alexiada's, the whole board, or just you guys?
No, I think it's just an executive session of this committee meeting.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that
Is that correct?
so? Yes.
Yes.
My suggestion is that the executive session include, and therefore the link should be sent to the committee members who are present. That's Ms. Downer and President Yarborough. You should include Mr. Wilcox, even though he won't be able to attend, and Dr. Negron and me. If there's anyone else I'm not thinking of, you can please
Yarborough,
present.
Wilcox, Negron, Downer, and yes. Okay. All set. I'm getting off to turn on that one.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Alexiadis, do I need a motion to move to executive session or not in this?
You do, and the motion would
I
really
see.
would be the language that's on the agenda.
Okay. Ms. Downer?
Oh, let me get the agenda.
Oh, I can read it, but do you want to read it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I just shut it down. Trying to move. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, everyone.
I got the link, by the way.
I got the link too. One second. All right, make a motion that we move to executive session pursuant to Connecticut statute 1-260 and E for discussion of the selection of a site or the lease for adult education, and Connecticut statute 1-210 B10 for discussion which would result in the disclosure of attorney-client privilege communications.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Downer, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So we'll move to executive session. Thank you. Just waiting for Attorney Alexiadis. He's in the waiting room.
He's in the waiting room.
Okay.
He's here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you. We have returned from executive session. No votes were taken, and we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Ms. Downer, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.